Take a look at this. As a filmmaker, does this video engage you in any way? Maybe it is boring, obsolete, but in the last 80 to 90 years, that film is probably something very, very interesting, or even the best evolution of technology of all time. How about this one? Doesn't it have higher quality and more relevant to the time period? What happens if the technology has become more advanced and changes our standard? And that standard also includes our filmmaking style and technique. But it doesn't mean that the old film cannot become modern. Let's take a look at the most adapted character ever, Sherlock Holmes. This guy. So who is really Sherlock Holmes? The one with the long coat? Or the stalker hat? That becomes iconic look throughout many versions. But some versions of Sherlock Holmes are not even male character. There have been changes over time period. But does it change how character engage the audience? To make it easier to compare, let's take a look at two most popular versions of Holmes. The Victorian Arthur Conan Doyle's Holmes and the modern or BBC Sherlock Holmes. We will take a look on two episodes of Sherlock Holmes, starting Scarlet by Arthur Conan Doyle or Victorian Sherlock Holmes, and Studying Pink, the BBC Sherlock Holmes or the modern one. Studying Scarlet by Arthur Conan Doyle represents Sherlock Holmes as an anti-hero. He solves crime in his own way, no matter good or bad, because he doesn't believe in police justice. This reflects the real world at that time. In the Victorian time, people cannot rely on police because they're too stupid to solve crime. The text also represents useless police. And we can see Sherlock Holmes irony them in one of the chapters in Studying Scarlet. The quote starts with, "The head of yours should be for use as well as an ornament." This is an irony to police in that time that they are too dumb to solve any crime. This engaged the audience. The audience at that time know the police are actually stupid, and Arthur Conan Doyle create this character, a random dude who can solve any crime smarter than the police. And this is how the text at that time is very engaging to the audience and is very attractive. And this is how the text of Sherlock Holmes in the Victorian time become popular. And now, he also have another problem. His drug addiction. In the Victorian time, the drug addiction probably something normal because they kind of like the trend for rich people, something like that. But we also can see that in one of the quote in the book chapter. "No man burdens in his mind." There is another quote from Arthur Conan Doyle that engaged people from Victorian time, but will definitely not engaging our contemporary audience. Sherlock Holmes drug addiction. There is a quote from Studying Scarlet said, "No man burden his mind with small matters unless he has some very good reason for doing so." That small matters could be mean drugs for Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes really loved solving crime. He loved it. He fell in love with it. He cannot do anything without solving crime. That's his normal activities. But sometimes, if he doesn't have any crime to solve, what is he gonna do? He cannot focus on anything. And that's why he takes drugs to calm himself. That probably engage or fine to the Victorian audience because at that time they doesn't have much information about the drugs. They doesn't know how that did to you, to your brain and stuff. But now, in the contemporary time, we know that drugs are bad. And that is why contemporary Sherlock Holmes will definitely take drugs in the film. And now let's take a look at the modern Sherlock Holmes, the more interesting version to us. Since some time has passed, our point of view to the police are now changes. People are more respectful to the law now and take them seriously. So doing illegal things to solve crime is illegal. So how is Sherlock Holmes going to solve crime now? Well, that's a big change in modern Sherlock Holmes. He can now work with police. That might seem very boring for the Victorian audience because they doesn't really like police very much. But at this time, in our contemporary world, It's a very right thing to do. We cannot stand on people doing illegal things. So that is how it's gonna be now. He can do illegal investigation with the police. He's more like a hero now, solving crime behind the scene for them, helping them investigating crime. Well, we can see this in one scene in Study in Pink. On the police interview about the death case, Sherlock Holmes sent the wrong message using subtitle technique to everyone. Because we can use advanced technology now, we can make that more effective to the audience. We can see the word wrong on the screen. And that shows us that Sherlock Holmes knows that the case is wrong and he can make it right. Come to him and he will help. And that is how the modern Sherlock Holmes changes the style of the Sherlock Holmes. And why is Sherlock Holmes very different? Every filmmaker like you all and me already know. It's the most important factor that makes up the theme of the film. The audience. Our contemporary audience now isn't like the audience in Victorian period. Our contemporary audience now, we live in a faster world, more demanding, more advanced technology. We live with internet. More information, audience are even smarter than the Victorian homes. Our modern one must be smarter than that. If we create the film like in Victorian period, our contemporary audience will not gonna watch it. And that is why our modern Sherlock Holmes has been adapted to suit the characteristic of the contemporary society, using film technique to suit the interesting of the audience. I can show you example. So many film technique has been used in Study in Pink. Because we have more technology now, we can do more technique and make it more graphic. Such as the investigation scene with the pink lady. The pop-up subtitle mixed with a montage present how Sherlock Holmes investigating the scene. It also gives information to the audience right away, make it seem very easy to think and follow what is Sherlock Holmes getting into. That is because now we're using Google to search up everything, and that thing make audience demand more information right away. They want to feel smart. They're not gonna keep watching movie and get information at the end. If we give them information right away, they're gonna feel smart like Sherlock Holmes. And that is very interesting to them. They engage with Sherlock Holmes' character. The next scene is when Sherlock Holmes and Watson chase the taxi. While they're running, the film used cutaway technique to give the audience the whole map of the road and obstruction. Like in Google Map. And that irony the technology of the world. If you in that situation, when you're chasing someone or something very far away, would you just keep running or use Google to follow them? And that is how film use technique and technology to make the suit for contemporary audience. Because the text can change over time due to many principles, but audience is the most important and they can determine how the story ends. And that should conclude how the old text become modern for us now. Thank you.